as a survivor of domestic violence, I do not like what's going on with Blake Lively, Justin Baldoni, and Ryan Reynolds.
Completely agree.
He's in there.
No, he's done. He's cut.
Yeah, I don't want to watch any of his movies anymore. And it's disappointing because I'm not going to lie, like, as an actor, I kind of really enjoyed his...
I was a fan.
Yeah.
I was definitely a fan.
Like, I enjoyed his movies. I liked
his whole personality.
His
like, he was very,
And now it's fake.
But I feel like we pretend he was with Scarlett Johansson, and then they did a movie together, and then they ended up together. Like, I feel like everyone bypasses that, too.
But everyone also, I feel like, bypasses the fact that Blake Lively was basically in the same position. She was with the guy. What's the guy's name from, why was I going to say Pretty Little Liars?
Gossip Girl?
From Gossip Girl.
But I didn't think they were together when...
Someone said they were. Maybe not when her and Ryan
Right.
Reynolds got together, but it seems to be that both of them
Well,
like to
I
date
just
their
saw
coworkers.
this thing a couple days ago that she wanted him fired. Like, she got majority of the people from Gossip Girl fired because she didn't like them. And she tried turning every single person against Penn Badgley. And then they ended up dating. I'm like, how did that... Like, what did you do to, like, get to that level?
That's so weird.
Yeah.
Truly, what did you do to get to that level? And
Yeah. To just have the control to be able to be like, yeah, I don't like you, like, you're out of this show.
And I
Like,
think
who are you?
Yeah, I think that's what we don't get to see as, like, just not. I think I'm a true believer that everyone is just a person. They are just people. Like, sometimes people fangirl over me, and I'm like,
Yeah.
chill out. I'm just a girl.
Yeah.
I'm just a person. There's nothing special about me. I'm just a person with a cool job is usually what I say. And I can't fathom being in a position like someone like Blake Lively or another, celebrity that has that type of control pull. Like, I don't know what that's like, but I know the type of, like, pull I have.
Yeah.
On the level that I'm at. And I can see, I couldn't imagine it, but I could see why.
Yeah.
I could see why this all came to be and why it's possible that even after treating so many people obviously very wrong and literally in the public eye.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting to see all this stuff come out now. Like, because I feel like everything...
It's like everybody's doing compilation of it.
Yeah, exactly. Because it's like thing after thing after thing that you did wrong.
Yeah.
And it was acceptable and it was okay to act like that. But like overlooked, but now it's serious.
Mm-hmm. Because this is now you fucked with a really serious topic.
Yeah.
Now you fucked with something that...
You just got caught up. Like, now it was your time.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah. 100%. And I can't just say, like, we're talking mainly about Blake Lively, but Ryan Reynolds to play in this.
Yeah.
Colleen Hoover's to play in this. I wouldn't say, I know that it sounds like we're on, like, a side here. I wouldn't say I'm necessarily, like, on a side.
No. I think once, like, the trial happens, like, yeah.
Maybe
like,
I'll pick a side then.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Then I'll pick a side. But I feel like everyone's picked a side now, though.
Yeah.
Like, seeing everything because... He, like, showed, like, receipts after receipts. Like, she just made these allegations, but I haven't seen anything that, like, backs it up.
Yeah.
But then again, like, how can you not believe her? But then again, how can you not believe him? If there's proof.
Agreed. It's really tough as someone who's been through, like, a relationship with domestic violence and a lot of abusive relationships and who's been sexually assaulted before, like, to... immediately not believe the woman. Mm-hmm. Because the statistics are so high on domestic violence, on sexual assault, that, like, it's nearly, I'm gonna quote this now, but I'm gonna check my sources and stuff and put them in the show notes, everyone. I'm pretty sure that 8 in 10 women get sexually assaulted in their lifetime.
Oh.
Women.
Wow.
Like, that's so high that...
Look, it's scary to even think about that.
It's terrifying. So to think that whole trend with, like, would you choose to be in a room alone with a bear or a man? Obviously a fucking bear.
Yeah.
Obviously a fucking bear, because I don't know what that man is capable of.
Yeah.
You know,
like
what I
how
mean?
you see those trends on TikTok, like, who would be the 3 men that you would be okay having in a room? Mm-hmm. You know, like, that's, or like that trend now on TikTok, like, have you heard, like, where you run and, like, you're telling your story of how you're running from a man because of what they did to you?
Oh, that.
Have you seen that
Ooh,
before?
that got me a little teary-eyed.
Yeah, like I remember I just saw one. She was young. I think she was like 13 and she was on her way home, I think from school or something. And there was this, she like takes the path home and she saw this creepy guy taking that path and like looking at her. So she went on the highway instead. And then she was about to pass a car that was just like stopped there. He was hiding under the car, like ready to like slice her leg open so she wouldn't like, she like had a weird feeling like, oh my God, I need to run the other way. He came out from under the car and started chasing her. And like that's like the song, like, do you know what song I'm talking about? It's
No.
like, but yeah, I'll have to show you that TikTok. But it's intense to think that you have to do that in those situations, like you have that feeling.
Because that is too high. Listen, I got a D in statistics, okay?
I got an A in statistics.
Really?
I did.
I'm glad to have you here. I got a D in statistics, so maybe I'm wrong with the statistics, but like, I don't know, 8 out of 10 to me, an 8 out of 10 chance
Yeah.
is way too high for me to fuck around with my life.
Yeah.
And
100%.
that's what most women end up, and not to say that it's just women, but in this case, like speaking about where it would fall on a most likely scale to be a woman that's going to fuck around with her life.
Exactly. Because you
I
don't know.
think she's gonna, I don't think most women would choose to fuck around with their life.
Yeah.
They're gonna look over their shoulder, they're gonna choose the bear, they're gonna
Yeah.
run the other way.
Exactly. 100%.
Welcome back to the Self-Love Archives podcast. I am your host, Julia Salvia, and I have a special guest today because I know that she reads a lot, and I know that she's got one hell of an opinion, and our TikToks have been absolutely engulfed by this case between Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni. So before we get into all of the things and why this podcast episode really needs to be talked about today and like why all these things need to be talked about, let me introduce you to my assistant, Jenna.
Hi, everyone.
So I really love that you love books like these. Like Colleen Hoover's book, It Ends With Us, is, I feel like, where this all stemmed from.
Well, 100%. I think that was, looking back on it, I think that was one of the first books that I read to like get back into reading.
Oh.
And I won't admit, I loved the book. I thought it was
Yeah.
great. But like looking back on it now, I'm like, now you see the problems with it. And I feel like
Yeah.
you overlook that with a lot of authors.
Yep.
You never, you read the book to read the book. You don't know a lot about them. I don't typically like decide to search, oh, like what's the problems with this author? Like if the book sounds good, I'll read the book.
Yeah.
But like then I'll regret it. But I never really look at it that way.
I don't think I look at
Until
books.
now.
Yeah, I don't think I look at books like that either. Like I don't look
No.
into who the author is. It's really just kind of like,
No, I just saw this one thing. I remember I posted something about like what I wanted to read next. And someone was like, "Oh, well, to convince you not to read this book, like she writes about Nazi romances." I was like, "What? Like what are you talking about?" And she was like, "Yeah." And then I texted my one friend that reads too, and she's like, "Yeah, like she like romanticizes like the KKK and like stuff like that." I'm like, "What are you talking about?" Like now I don't want to read this book. Like now I'm done.
that's so interesting.
Yeah, but
I-
you don't know that.
I look at books as like, especially...
I'm escaping to a different reality.
Yes, and that's actually why I don't read books like this. Because I don't want to escape.
go in that reality.
I used to read books actually when I was in...
You read, like those
I was-
like gang books and like
Oh
gang
my
romances.
gosh. I used to read
Yeah.
books like you know, fiction books like
Yeah.
this, the romance books, the books that are trending right now that everybody's really into. I used to read those when I wanted to get away from my abusive relationships.
That's upsetting.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah,
Like,
to just escape it 100%.
Literally.
Because it brings you into like a happy place. Like I wish I was here. I wish that was me.
and not even that, it brought me to have to deal with someone else's problems.
Okay.
Because
I
a
never
lot
look at
of,
it
I
that
mean,
way.
a lot of the
Yeah.
books I read were fucked up.
Okay.
They were fucked up. Let's be
Yeah.
honest. They were fucked up.
Yeah.
Like,
I read more books like I want this to happen to me.
yeah. No, mine were about
Yeah.
like gang related, like a lot of, and I don't even think that was just purposely, like, it was accidental.
Yeah.
Okay? Like, I was reading, I don't even know what any of them are called at this point because I've put them
know,
so
yeah.
far in the back of my head, but, like, I used to read those books, and
Yeah.
they would still sting in a similar way that, like, emotionally, like, the relationships I was in would sting, but
Yeah.
it would allow me to not be me
Yeah.
and be someone else,
Mhm.
be in someone else's life, dealing with someone else's problems
and everything.
and
Yeah.
trauma, exactly, until I close the book and I'm like, fuck,
Yeah.
I'm not
okay.
I'm not leaving the book.
Yeah.
Like, the emotions that were left with the book didn't leave
Mhm.
because whatever was happening in the book was
It's
still happening
here.
with me.
Yeah.
It was crazy. And that's why I don't read books like that, because one, I don't need to escape anymore.
Yeah.
Because I love where I am in my life and I feel a lot, like, very much healed from that place. But also, I don't like the escape part
No.
of books like that.
Yeah.
So to come back and read Colleen Hoover's book for the sake of this podcast was a really interesting thing, because in the weirdest way, the story of, like, Lily and Ryle is very similar to what happened to me.
Yeah.
So it was
Different to see.
It was different.
To, like,
yeah.
experience that again.
And it hurts me to see how
Everything was portrayed.
just everything is happening, because I actually think that the original, like, intent behind creating It Ends With Us was so good.
Yeah.
Because they went at it, like, Colleen Hoover went at it, and then Justin Baldoni wanted to create this movie because the intention was to share a more honest version of an abusive relationship.
Yeah. Well, because I feel like that's also why the book was so popular, because so many young girls and, like, everyone was just experiencing that book and, like, no, I can't put up with this. Mm-hmm. And, like, I don't ever want to go through this. Because I feel like that's why so many people got back into reading after they read that book.
Yeah.
Because it was just powerful to read.
Yeah. Because that's how most abusive relationships happen. Like, you hear in most movies and books, it's so extremely exaggerated. And I'm not saying that those situations and those things don't happen, but it's
different to read a book.
Yeah.
Because I feel like you're feeling it more when you're actually sitting there, flipping the pages, reading it. Because you're seeing it in your head and you're picturing this happen to you. Or just watching someone experience that.
You're also, though, at the same time, like, you're not seeing the worst version of something happening. Because when you think of, like, very serious topics like domestic violence, rape, sexual assault, you're watching these, like, crime TV shows, and the people have died from this. And that's not to say that can't happen. It can. But a lot of women and people go through all the steps that come before it.
Yeah.
Like, they get pushed, then they get
like, it leads
choked.
up to get
like
it.
It does, and that's what happened. That's what happened with me. Like, I was just, there was a lot of gaslighting. There was a lot of mean things said, but then came the pushing, then came the shoving, then came the strong grip on my arm, then came, choking me against a wall, like that. It's like a slow rolling snowball into it actually getting
worse.
very serious.
Yeah.
And I actually thinking back to, like, the book and the movie, I think that it jumped into it almost too quick.
It did.
I think
the movie or just the book?
I think more so the movie.
Yeah.
I think the movie jumped into it too
quick.
quick.
Well, because I honestly feel like when I was watching the movie, like, I really didn't connect it.
No.
Because I feel like they
it felt
really...
random.
Yeah, I'm like,
it felt kind of random.
Because I'm like, no, he didn't hit her. Like, that's really how I felt. Like, especially that scene in the kitchen. I'm like, no, that didn't happen. Yeah. But, like, that was the whole point, but I just didn't see it at first.
Yeah. It was 1000% better explained in the book.
Yeah.
Of how that came to be.
But I definitely think it's powerful, because I remember seeing, like, a lot of people talk about it after and saying, well, that's the whole point. Like, you don't see it coming and, like, you don't expect it. But I just feel like it could have been a little bit more seen in the movie.
I wish they really went into her head and really like described her gut feelings.
Yeah.
Because I feel like
that. I didn't picture her looking like this either.
First of all.
Like, I If we're talking about
First
that,
of
like,
all,
I just feel like everything was
no.
just different in my opinion.
They completely, utterly casted, like, Blake Lively, as I feel like most people would agree, was not the right person to cast for this movie.
No, not at all.
She was
I
not
think maybe
the right person.
when she was in Gossip Girl, yeah, that around age, but I just don't think. I just feel like they just kind of switched everything in comparison to the book and the movie.
Yeah.
I pictured her way younger in the book. And then seeing her, like,
Yeah.
the outfit choices and everything.
Yeah.
Like, that's not what I pictured.
No.
Like, I like to see what I'm picturing in my head then, and that should have been how the movie was.
At least.
Yeah.
At least.
And I just didn't see that.
No.
So I feel like I didn't connect with it like I did with the book already.
Yeah. I agree with that. I think as I was, like, very quickly listening to the book, I did not picture once her to be
looking like that.
No.
I don't know. I just, the outfit choices,
I think
everything.
There's a happy medium, I think, when casting people. Like, it's when celebrities get so large as a celebrity, you have to be careful with how you cast them.
Yeah.
Like, if you casted, I don't know, you casted Vin Diesel, okay, or The Rock as Ryle. Oh. Obviously, that's not gonna fit.
No, it's not a fit. Yeah.
You know what I mean? But even if you casted...
Well, I didn't really think Justin Baldoni was a fit, though.
I didn't think he was a perfect fit
But I think
either.
I liked him in it, though.
Yes.
But initially, that wouldn't have been my pick.
I just think he just seemed really old. Like,
I just pictured younger people. Like, that's really how I felt about it.
They seemed to take in the movie that they just looked older. They looked more in their 30s.
But like, I know she did say that she just, like, didn't age them right in the book. I remember reading that Colleen said that. She didn't, because how is he, like, 20-something years old already, like, a doctor? Like, that's not realistic. But, I mean, okay, who cares? Just follow how you did the book. I think
it was 26 in the book.
Like, yeah, that's young to be a doctor. You're not a doctor yet.
True.
That's why she said she aged them older in the movie. But I feel like, who cares? It's a movie. You know, you really didn't need to age them.
I just
to that extent.
Even if that was the case, I still don't think that Blake Lively was the right choice.
Oh, no, not at all.
And I think
because she wanted to be more of a director than just a person in the movie.
Well, think about all the other roles she's played.
Yeah, and I liked her in a lot of things. I must say, I was a fan. Like, I loved her. Mm-hmm. Not anymore. Now it's cut.
I never really liked her. I don't have
we did when I made you watch Gossip Girl. Like, I was like, yeah, I love her.
Isn't that so interesting that we were watching like Gossip Girl? Like every time you come over, we do work. You were watching like you wanted to turn on Gossip Girl, and we were like watching her.
I know, I loved her.
Even came to be.
Yeah, I loved her in The Shallows, and I watched her in a lot of Simple Favor. I loved her in movies.
I felt like the role of her in Simple Favor
fit. That's why I sent you that second movie.
It fits, but I actually think that it almost like foreshadows.
Too much. Yeah.
I think it fucking foreshadows what's happening now. Yeah. Especially the second movie. I haven't seen it yet, but...
Oh, no, it didn't come out yet.
Oh, okay.
No, it's... Because I told you no one wanted to pick up the movie because they don't get along. They hate each other.
Yeah.
So no one wanted to pick up the movie because she refused to do a press tour with her. That's why it's on Amazon and you're just seeing like simple things like that.
Yeah.
Because no one wants the movie.
Yeah.
But it looks good. Like, now I'm kind of disappointed. It looks great.
No, it looks like a good movie because the role was correct.
Her. Yeah. Like you never read Verity, but she would have been the perfect person in that movie. Mm-hmm. Everyone says that. Every time I look on TikTok and stuff, that would have been her role. Because that's almost like a Simple Favor, like the creepy way and stuff. Like, she would have been perfect for that.
I think Colleen Hoover got starry-eyed when the idea of Blake
having
Lively,
such big people in this movie.
Yeah. I think she got really starry-eyed, and the idea of doing something meaningful
was just out the window.
Yeah, it went in one ear, out the other. She saw stars, rose-colored glasses when she heard like Blake Lively.
Yeah. And I don't know for what though, because I feel like that book was so popular. Like, there was no reason to be like, I need famous people in this movie. Millions of people read this book. Millions of people loved it. Mm-hmm. So there was no reason to just... You could have casted anyone, and we would have all watched it. Yeah. Like, it wasn't because Blake Lively was in it.
I don't know. I don't know what it was, like, specifically, but after that 10 minutes where she had something at the end of the book at least in the Audible like version, where she talked about her experience like with domestic, like her mom being in a domestic violence relationship, her basically playing the role of Lily, seeing her mom in this relationship
was shocking. I never read that part in the book.
Shocking, but also like I'm not shocked in the way of like a lot of art comes from personal experiences, and I believe that a lot of fiction books come from personal experiences, even nonfiction too.
Yeah, no, exactly.
And then obviously like biographies are just, you know, that's literally from your life. But like for her to write a book like this based off of the inspiration of a traumatic experience she had as a child through the eyes of like her mom basically and like her parents, I'm not surprised that had happened.
No.
That there was this personal connection. What I'm surprised about is how she says that she wanted to end the cycle, but it doesn't seem like that's what happened.
Yeah. It did.
And I don't like when people contradict themselves.
Mm-hmm. Well, because I feel like that's a lot of how her books are, too. Mm-hmm. Like, there has to be, like, some, like, messed up trauma in every book.
I think every author's got some sort of messed up trauma. Like what you were talking about before. Why do you want to write?
I know. And it was so sad because I loved the first book. Yeah. I think the first book, it was like she only likes to envision people like blonde hair, blue eyes. And I'm like, oh my God. Like, I had no idea. And then I like said to my friend, she's like, yeah, like it's like super controversial. I'm like, I wouldn't have known that if someone didn't tell me that. Because I read hundreds of books a year.
Yeah.
And I'm not like analyzing like the authors. Like if I like your book, I like your book. If I don't, I don't.
Yeah.
I don't look into like the things, and I would have no idea. I didn't get that when I read the first book. I was crying reading the whole first book. Like it was a sad book. Mm-hmm. And like I didn't picture that at all. But it's crazy to think the differences in books and then you look at the authors.
Mm-hmm. So this case with Justin Baldoni and Blake Lively and sprinkle of Ryan Reynolds or heavy
sprinkle.
Input. Have you ever seen them do ice cream cones where they put the sprinkles in the bottom, then the ice cream, and then on top? That's Ryan Reynolds. You pick 2 flavors of ice cream, you get both. And Ryan Reynolds is the sprinkles, completely contaminating the entire ice cream.
He has too much of an input. Well, what's crazy is I have
a theory.
Oh, I have a theory. I wonder if you have the same theory.
Okay, go ahead. Tell me your theory.
She's upset that he didn't want to be with her, Justin Baldoni. And Ryan Reynolds thinks they were having an affair and that he wanted her. And she was like, no. And he like turned it around like, no, like you tried sexually assaulting my wife. I think that's what it is. Because people say every single movie, stuff that she's been in, she gets with one of the characters. Mm-hmm. She did that with Gossip Girl. She was with him, then Ryan Reynolds, and she couldn't crack Justin Baldoni because he loved his wife.
I think that...
Agree?
What?
Agree?
No. I actually think... Partially agree. I think that Ryan Reynolds is abusive towards Blake Lively.
See, I thought that too.
Yep.
I could see that.
And Justin Baldoni realized as they got closer as coworkers. Because here's the thing that I've noticed about Justin Baldoni, and this is all really like very much like hearsay based off of just what's on the internet and what we're being fed. And I want to make that really clear because of the seriousness of like the topic.
Yeah.
We'll never know the full story and the full picture and know exactly what happened. But I feel like with the amount of receipts that Justin Baldoni has shared and the amount of things that are out there on the internet of like proof of a lot of things, we'll know a good amount.
Yeah.
But there'll still be some things missing. In getting super close to each other, maybe that was Blake Lively's intention. But
to like escape. Technically,
maybe like in
she's
some
trying
sort
to
of
escape
way
from Ryan Reynolds.
But I also really think that Justin Baldoni has made it super uber clear over the past couple of years that he is an advocate for domestic violence survivors. He has done podcast episodes about it. He has helped in like charitable ways.
Yeah.
He literally came out and said that he wants to do this movie
because to advocate
for domestic violence survivors. So to really show a different perspective. Like it's just so clear in all of the marketing and press around the movie.
Yeah, how it was just like done.
Yeah. And I think what's unfortunately not in his favor is that you don't see men, two things. You don't see men advocating publicly for women like that.
Mm-hmm.
And in such a big way. And two, you don't see men being emotional or sharing their emotions in the way that he outwardly does all the time.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
when you see him in like Blake Lively's like lawsuit about how he's sharing these things about himself that are like deep dark secrets.
Yeah.
I feel like I can kind of relate in some sort of way because I could come out and tell you all the bad things that happened to me.
Yeah.
But that doesn't make me a fucked up person. That just makes me a person who's comfortable with who I am as a person.
Yeah. And to be able to share like what happened to you.
Exactly. And when we get close with people, like sometimes we feel the need to bring it up. Yeah, to share, to relate.
Yeah.
To share, to relate, to bring it up in
Understand
conversation, to help you understand the person. And I really think that that's what he had been doing in all of it. And he's just like in an unfortunate situation because he's a guy. Of course, everybody's going to, when a woman comes out and says, you know, I was sexually assaulted.
Yeah.
I'm going to believe the woman first.
Exactly. Because I feel like that happens a lot too with athletes and stuff. Like you see when like a random girl will say like, no, like he assaulted me and stuff. And it just ruins his reputation. And it comes out, oh, I was just kidding. You know, and like that just ruins someone's life, and it can easily just ruin a man's life when you make that kind of accusation,
or a person's life. Like it just in this case, like there is some sort of like double standard, but I do think double standards exist in all aspects.
Yeah.
But in this case with just Justin Baldoni and Blake Lively, like if you are genuinely fucking around and lying about being sexually assaulted, you are hurting women like me.
Yeah.
Who have actually been sexually assaulted, who have actually gone through domestic violence. Like, you are hurting women who need to be supported.
Yeah. Because then, like, say another case comes, no, I don't believe you.
Exactly.
And it was true.
Mm-hmm.
Like, those aren't the kinds of things that you pretend that happened to me.
Yeah.
And it didn't.
And that's such an important thing to, like, it's just so incredibly important too. Like, we know people lie all the time. We know people make shit up all the time. Like, and it's, you know, in court most times I say most times because not everything I feel like is fair and is done correctly. But
yeah, definitely.
It's innocent until proven guilty.
Yeah, that's how it always should be.
And I just feel like
a lot of situations, it's not like that though.
No.
You're guilty until proven innocent.
Exactly. And I think in this case, that was unfortunately what was
happening to him.
Yeah, what had happened. And I sit on the fence of, you know, wanting to be on like the woman's side, but also.
But honestly, I feel like even looking at it, I don't really see anyone being like, yeah, like I believe her. You know, like technically, like when we say like, oh no, like he's like guilty until proven innocent. Like, no, I don't really feel like people think like that right now.
There's such a lack of fucking emotion.
Yeah, from her side. Well, even on that SNL 50, like how they made a skit, her and Ryan Reynolds, like someone was like, oh, how are you doing? And he's like, I'm fine. Like, what have you heard? And Blake Lively's like, what are you talking about? You know,
and then
like,
immediately her face changes in 5 seconds. But you see
all the people around them, like, judging them, like, looking at them, like, no, you're a liar. Like, you can notice that. I remember, like, a couple directors in the back, like, I saw. There was a lot of directors. I don't know specifically his name, but he was looking at them like, I know what you did. You know what I mean? Like, just that she's lying. Well, I don't know if she's lying. I can't say she's lying if there's no, like, facts, but there is a lot of facts.
There's nothing that really shows to me
that he did it.
Not even that. If you take out every bit of proof that Justin Baldoni's lawyers came out with, that Justin Baldoni came out with, if you gave me nothing and you just went off of Blake Lively as a person and how she's reacting to all of this, I would say one of two things. I would say that is not, and everything is like, take with a grain of salt. You don't know how people are actually going to react.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And how they're going to handle their traumas and things that are traumatic. And I would assume that if someone sexually assaulted you or made you feel uncomfortable, you are traumatized by that in one way or another.
And I feel like you really wouldn't want to share that with the world.
I think it depends. I was very quick to share what I had gone through with the world. And that's only because I actually...
But I think you time to process it. Yeah.
Of course.
I don't think you would have done it like the next day, like you walked out of it.
Nothing that she talked about, said, made me feel like she gave a fuck about the actual...
case.
Movie.
Oh.
The actual depth of the movie. Like,
yeah.
The depth of, like, helping domestic violence survivors.
No, because I feel like especially throwing him in the basement, like, during, like, the red cart, like, that whole thing.
Well, someone said that was about, like, her feeling uncomfortable around him.
Yeah. So she threw him, his whole family, all his friends. Even, I think there was, like, I don't remember. There was some girl that, like, came for it with him. Mm-hmm. And she was stuck in the basement with all of them. They were sitting on top of water bottles. You saw the picture come out of them all in the basement. Mm-hmm. It's, how do you do that?
I don't know. Since I don't want to paint a picture of what someone who's witnessed or experienced being sexually assaulted feels like. I don't want to paint a picture of that, but it doesn't seem like that's what happened. And that gets me to my second point.
Well, because I feel like you think about it, the movie was about this, and now this happened to the two main characters.
But then
like, that's very interesting to think about.
Ryan Reynolds' play in all of this?
Yeah, he was too involved.
That's what makes me almost think, okay,
how did this happen if your husband was here all the time?
True. That's not what I was going to say, but true.
But I just feel like he would have been, like, knock him out or something. You know what I mean? Like, don't look at my wife like that. Like, knock him out.
I was going to say, again, not painting a picture of what a sexual assault survivor or a domestic violence survivor should look like. But if Blake Lively was actually sexually assaulted, I don't think that the way that she's been acting, responding, and being in the public eye would paint any picture that something like that happened. But also, the second point I was going to make is like, well, what does Ryan Reynolds have to do with it?
Yeah.
Because if he's abusing her, which is my theory,
I think so.
But it makes sense.
But I feel like I can't say that because I like Ryan Reynolds.
But it makes sense.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It makes sense because then he has some sort of control over her.
Yeah.
Because that's what an abuser does. They get into your head. They get into your brain. They control everything that you do.
Yeah.
And we could see that in Ryan Reynolds and how he's trying to control everything about this case, about what happened. And by having this lawsuit come about and say, Justin Baldoni sexually assaulted my wife.
But then I can also see it.
Let me finish my thought. Hold on. By coming in and saying that Justin Baldoni sexually assaulted my wife, it's taking blame off of anything that he does to his wife.
Yeah.
He's removing all of your attention off of him. I can't see someone being so angry off the fact that, like, I don't know, let's say that, like, Blake Lively did have a thing for Justin Baldoni. Maybe she did start to like him. I can't see him being mad to the point where he would want to ruin someone's life. But I
could see her doing that.
But hold on, I can see him wanting to ruin someone's life because they came out and said, I'm going to tell the whole world that you abuse your wife. And that's why I think that Ryan Reynolds abuses Blake Lively.
I don't know. I don't feel that way. I 100% see your points and stuff.
They would have one hell of a fucking ego if it's not that.
50-50. Like, I could see her being, like, the root behind this whole thing and, like, he's backing her up. But I could also see what you're saying. Mm-hmm. Like, I would love to see more about that. But I feel like you haven't heard anything about them. And, like, stuff, because they've been together for a while. I feel like there would have been some kind of sign. But but there's not always signs.
I feel like when you have an ego so high.
But I feel like she does. Like, I don't really.
And that's why she would want no one to know.
Yeah.
My parents, when I was in, so the relationship that I kind of keep referring to in this podcast is this one relationship. I moved away to a different state. I didn't know anyone there. The only person I knew was like my boyfriend at the time.
Yeah.
And my parents came to visit. And I had just been basically sexually assaulted by him days before. And I'm not super close with my parents, so I was going to confide in them and tell them what happened.
Yeah.
But I couldn't.
I could see that because you're not comfortable.
But not even that. You know why? It wasn't even necessarily about like comfortability, because I knew, even though I didn't have a close relationship with my parents, like I knew that like, I can't even say that I knew that they would fix it. I actually didn't tell them because of my ego. Because I had just moved into that apartment, even though they told me not to a week before.
Okay, I get what you're saying.
And I didn't want to be like, you were right.
Yeah. No, 100%.
And not only were you right in the fact that I shouldn't have moved here because I know no one here, you were right because I ended up moving in to an apartment, into a home with my abuser.
Yeah.
That I'm not,
and you
safe
knew,
in.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like you did that to yourself, basically.
But instead I shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
And I figured it out by myself. And that right there, because I let my ego speak for me, that made me more alone.
Yeah.
That is the scariest part, when you know that someone you love is being abused or in that situation, because you can't even bring it up.
No, you like don't want to step in. You don't want to.
Because the more you do, the more the person
either they'll
being
push
abused
you away or
pushes you away.
Yeah, it just gets worse.
Because I remember I would stop calling my friends, or like when I did, I would stop talking about him.
Yeah.
Because I knew in my gut that what was happening was wrong. Yeah. I knew in my gut. So I stopped bringing it up. I stopped talking about it. And every time my friends brought it up, it would make me want to call them less.
Yeah. Because it's just like, shut up. Like, stop talking to me about it.
Yeah, because I didn't want them to know.
Yeah, because I don't want to slip up and say something that might be concerning. Mm-hmm. And you want to ask more questions.
Mm-hmm. And you as well as the person who abuses you, puts you or controls you or manipulates you. There's so many ways to go about this, but there's so many things that happen from guilt, from ego, that end up putting you in a position where you are alone. From doing it by self-sabotaging yourself, which is honestly what you're doing. Not listening to your gut is self-sabotaging yourself. Mm-hmm. or your abuser, not wanting anyone to be around you that could even for a second think that they're doing something bad.
Yeah.
And that's why my theory, I really think that there's something that is,
I could see it. I could 100%
there's
something
see that. Ego focused on like Blake and Ryan's side.
Yeah. Well, because I feel like Ryan Reynolds is seen as like this charming, funny, like amazing guy. Mm-hmm. And you wouldn't think that of him either.
No, but guess who was also charming, funny, handsome, and everybody loved him? No. Ryle.
Yeah.
But also my ex-boyfriend.
Yeah.
Everyone loved him immediately.
Because you don't see it.
No. They're like, he's so charismatic. Everyone that he met loved him. They thought he was so funny. They were like, oh my God, he's so handsome. But they had no idea that behind closed doors, he was the meanest person in the entire world. Okay. And that's what's scary about
men. Well, and women.
I mean, yeah, that is what's scary about men.
Yeah, you don't know.
You see the craziness with like someone like Ted Bundy.
Yeah. God. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's just
you don't know until like you're really in it.
And you could say the same thing about Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah, that's true.
The part in all of this that I think is important is that the entire integrity, the entire meaning, and the entire good thing that was supposed to come out of this didn't. Yeah. And I don't know if it will.
No. I don't think, no, not at all.
Because I really think that all of this,
like the movie's gone. Like we're done with the movie. We're done with the book. Now let's focus on this. Like, we're never going to think about the book and the movie again.
I think this is going to put some really tough emotions on women who are in
that position that she might not be in. Technically.
That, but also I think it's going to put women who are being sexually assaulted, who are in domestic violence relationships, like, I really think it's going to put them in a tough position in wanting to speak up and wanting to go to court and bring their abusers to court and basically give them what they deserve.
Yeah.
Because in a lot of ways there isn't proof.
No.
When a lot of these things happen. There aren't photos. There aren't videos.
No. There's no, like, actual proof to, like, say, like, yeah, you did this.
Mm-hmm. So it's so disappointing to see if it is true that Blake Lively really was kind of just exaggerating something that had happened and she wasn't sexually assaulted by Justin Baldoni. Like, this is going to be a case of the century.
Yeah. Well, I feel like this was also like the Johnny Depp and Amber Heard case.
I was just going to say that, like, a very similar. I don't think they were the same necessarily.
No.
But I do think.
Because I think it was known that he did stuff to her, though. But, like, she did stuff to. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, that was completely different.
I think that was just. That was a relationship of, like, two extremely unhealed people.
Yeah.
Two extremely unhealed people.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a case of a work relationship.
Mm-hmm. Possible lover, possible abusive husband.
Yeah.
I mean, there's, like, many different areas to, like, add on.
There's so many directions that it could go in.
Like, this could be a movie. Throwing this could have been.
And I'm sure that there will be a Netflix documentary out on this
I'm
case.
sure there probably could have been on Peacock already. Like, everyone's opinion so far.
Yep, 100%. I just think that it's not a win for
either of them.
Well, it's not a win for either of them, but it's also not a win for women who've been abused. It's not. And that's what's, I think, the most disappointing thing that will come out of this.
Yeah.
It will end careers. It will most likely be a contributor to people staying in relationships that they should not stay in.
Mm-hmm.
But I hope that even though the integrity of the whole point of It Ends With Us, the whole, like, idea of It Ends With Us.
Is It Ends With Us.
And I hope that at the very least, even though there's so much of this, like, filler, like, the case literally just feels like filler. Mm-hmm. Because it's just so ridiculous.
Yeah.
I hope that women who are struggling, men who are struggling, anyone who's in a relationship or has a work relationship that makes them uncomfortable, or who has been sexually assaulted or is in, a relationship that they've dealt with domestic violence, or that they're being abused or being controlled, manipulated, whatever. I hope that they can look past this filler
and still be able to speak up
and be able to see the message. That it does end with them. That they are the ones that end the cycle. That they are the ones that are in control of their destiny and what happens next for them. And it's not an easy thing. It's an extremely scary thing, especially, in a place where you're so used to something. But I hope that we can go beyond using other things and other outside sources and people and finally see the value in ourselves, that we also deserve better.
Exactly.
Not just our kids, not just our babies, like, not just our friends, our sisters, our family. Like, you deserve better too. Mm-hmm. You are worthy of healthy relationships. And my God, if I could tell anything to myself, listen to your fucking gut. Like, listen to your fucking gut. It tells you everything that you want to know. But we are so...
I personally don't like to.
Why?
Because I just... Not like that, but I just feel like a lot of times, like, I don't want to believe that. Like, even though I'll feel it in me, like, I like, kind of, like, move past it. Like, I'm not the type that, like, likes to do those kinds of things. Like
They're not easy.
No.
That's why people don't like to do it, because it's not easy. It's not an easy decision.
Because you don't want it. Like, if something's so bad, you don't want to believe it is that bad.
Of course. Because you don't want to believe that you could have ended up better. Yeah. You don't want to believe that you deserve better. You don't want to believe that you could have ended up in a position, in the same position that your parent was in. You don't want to believe that you are the statistic. Mm-hmm. But unfortunately, if your gut is telling you that that's where you're at, the only thing that's going to save you, the only thing that's going to heal you anything is you, and is your gut. And your gut is you. Listening to your gut is the most important thing that you can do. And I think our world is so loud. Like this, I really just want to say this is such a dumb ass case.
Yeah.
It seems so pointless, and I hate taking away the learning and the education and the importance of it and what will come from it, because we're not there yet. And I think that everything does truly happen for a reason.
Yeah, because we still have another year.
Of course. Yeah. Technically. There's still like some time till this actually like happens. But if this really was created on the basis of nothing,
it's just so disappointing.
It's extremely disappointing. It's so disappointing. And it knocks down where
we tried to get to. Like, it just feels like 10 steps backward.
Yeah, it does. I feel like we're in a world of 10 steps backward. Mm-hmm. But I know that whenever we go 10 steps backward from where we're at, we always go 20 steps forward. And I'm hoping that this is one of those things where it gets worse before it gets better. Mm-hmm. And when we watch the documentary, we are watching the documentary where it ends... It ends with us at the end. Like, it ends with them. Yeah. It ends with them, and this does not happen again. And someone who is in a really tough spot and not a comfortable spot in their life can feel confident enough to be able to take their case, their story,
and say
to court, to say something, to help someone else.
Yeah.
And I mean, and that's on the Self-Love Archives, because that is exactly why I started the Self-Love Archives. Because I know that we are not alone in all of this.
No, because there's 8 out of 10.
Mm-hmm. I think at the end of the day, the world is so loud. And if we can take a second to listen to ourselves, listen to our gut feelings, listen to how we're feeling, whether that's physically, emotionally, mentally, like, that can change your life. Mm-hmm. If you can shut the entire world out and just listen to yourself, that is so incredibly powerful. So, you should listen to yourself. You should listen to yourself. I should listen to myself. You should listen to yourself. Everyone should listen to themselves, because
you only know what's good for you.
Exactly. I mean, at the end of the day, like, we're all completely different human beings, but I know that we all have like our souls inside of us, and we all have someone to listen to. But again, the world can get so loud sometimes that it muffles out our voices.
Yeah.
And I hope that we can push through and like actually share our voices and be the ones that say me too. Or be the ones that say it ends with us. So many thoughts on this case, so many thoughts on this book, so many thoughts on the movie Colleen Hoover and how this kind of comes to fruition. How do you feel about it?
I can't wait for the case. That's how I feel. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm really looking forward to seeing the truth.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing the truth too, and I hope that it does actually come out.
Yeah.
In the case a year from now. Maybe we'll pick this back up then.
Yeah, March 9th, 2026.
2026. Thank you so much for tuning into the Self-Love Archives, and thank you for hanging out with me, Jenna, and chatting with me about this. If you are a
book lover,
you're a book lover.
What are your opinions?
Yeah, if you're a book lover, if you're a movie lover, I would love to know your opinions on this case, where you stand, what you think, unbiased opinions, truly, because I think at the end of the day, like, I'm not on a side, I'm just on the fence, and I'm just going off of what the facts are.
What we read, what we watched, what
the lawsuits seen. Exact, yep, and just how I feel as, like, a person who can relate to what's going on. And it's just so weird. It's like almost like the irony. That is the word. This whole thing is just ironic.
It is.
It is the irony of the fact that you have an author that experienced domestic violence, the irony that she wrote a book on it, the irony that there was a movie made of it, and then the irony that there is now a case of sexual assault.
And contradicting yourself.
Like
the son.
Just like, and oh my God.
Yeah. Let's not forget about the son.
No, that's a whole Colleen Hoover's son. Yeah. That is a
that's
whole
a different topic
another
that we'd love to hear about too.
Yeah. That's a whole other topic, a whole other situation. And I think ironic. The irony is just...
That's what the movie should have been called.
Really loud. Mm-hmm. How ironic.
Yeah.
That's the documentary.
It should have just been called Starts With Us. Like the second book. The second book said Starts With Us.
Yep. 110%.
Yeah. Basically, it starts with Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni.
Yep.
And it's going to end with us at the end of the case.
Mm-hmm. I will not be wearing flowers to go and partake in any of the watching of the cases. And I will not be grabbing my girls to go enjoy a movie about domestic violence.
Yeah. Basically, it's not what I did.
These things need to be held with care.
And respect to people that have went through this.
And kindness. Like, at the end of the day, like, everything's up for perspective and someone's going to say you got it wrong. But I think that there's a way to do things with a good heart. Mm-hmm. And that was not in this in a lot of ways. If you or anyone you know has experienced sexual assault, domestic violence, abuse, anything that we've spoken about on the podcast today, please check out the show notes below for any of the resources that can help. If there's anything that I have to repeat over and over and over again, listen to your gut. It never lies to you. Thank you so much for tuning into this episode of the Self-Love Archives. Thank you again for being here.
Of course.
And I'll see you guys next time.